handshake. That was the one-turn win in action. Zan able to find those combo pieces he needed and pulled it off.
Yeah, and I mean, like we said, you have to have the 3 puzzle pieces where you need to have enough ink to play the Alan Adale, which he is a 4-cost inkable card. You need to have the ability to get that Monstro into the library, play that, get the 2. And so it's not a fun. It's not easy. Like, it's not something where...
Sure.
We've
like, it's not just going to happen.
No, it's not something
There's
where...
no happy accidents here with the Monstro combo.
No. And so Diego has seen it in effect, and he's like, that was fun. But he's like, I just have to go fast, because we saw him go pretty slow twice. So if we see Diego 2 out of 3 times go slow, maybe 1 out of those 3 times he's about to go very fast. And there is if Dan can't pull that off by the time Diego puts out, 3 ladies and 2 tramps, there's no time. So...
Yeah, I think that's going to be key for this third game. These players are both at 4-0 here in round 5. And, of course, all of these players, they want to get every single win they can, but you need at least 18 points to make it to day 2. And Diego needs to go fast. I think he just needs to go fast. He's starting off again with that lady, but hopefully on turn 2 we see something other than that Go-Go Tamago.
Yeah, the no-go Tamago here, where she is not getting that full effect, because she's normally a fun surprise, right? Because you get to see her come in and she can get that burst of lore that can close out the game. In this case, we see Rafiki, which can help keep the board in check.
Yes, Rafiki being a Challenger 3 is really great. We have a Mowgli here on Diego's side of the board, so now we are going to take a look at Zan's side. We have 2 non-character cards, Circle of Life and Junior Woodchuck Guidebook, and we have Circle of Life going into the discard. So we have another Rafiki, a Huey, which is, of course, that discounted effect that he has, and Cheshire Cat. This is interesting with these cards here. We don't have any pieces yet of that combo.
Yeah, well, we have a little hint of a piece, because we have that Circle of Life, which is generally used to, you can bring back Allendale. If Allendale happen to get discarded, you can use that card, but now Circle of Life is in the discard, but that is kind of a puzzle piece for it. And this is why I when I ever see Zan Syed play a deck, and people are like, oh man, this deck is so cool, I'm like, just proceed with caution, because this is something like we have seen him do so many cool things with cards, but it's a delicate rope. But there's lots of backup plans. We saw that Madam M Elephant, which can be used to go ahead and get something that's boosted to get whatever's underneath it back in. You don't get to pick what you put under a boosted card. We see Circle of Life to get a character back. So he has these contingency plans. We saw Demona to draw cards, but in this case, Diego says, okay, I see you got some stuff over there, but here is that Huey coming in, and like we said, that is another thing, is to get to that Monstro as fast as possible.
And we do see that Zan just drew off the top of the deck that great Illuminary Location, which is a piece of that combo that he needs. What's interesting on Diego's side is he didn't have a character to play here on turn 3. I would think that he would have rather had a character to play. He did put down the Emerald Chromacon, but unfortunately it feels still like a little bit of a slow start for him.
It's fascinating, because I mean, I have watched, quite frankly, a lot of dogs.
A lot of dogs.
It has been a lot of dogs, which I'm a dog fan, so honestly fair. But it's fascinating, because I haven't seen a dogs match like this, and I wondered if he's playing differently because he's being more cautious.
Sure. Yeah, that could very well maybe, especially knowing this deck that he's up against. But I would think that he would want to be pressing the gas pretty quickly to race Zan and try to win through as much lore gain as he can before that combo comes out.
That's my instinct. And I mean, Emerald Chromacon is slow, and Zan, the thing that I do know is that Emerald Chromacon, he knows that Zan's trying to buy time. And how do you buy time? The Cheshire Cat, because that Cheshire Cat can move 2 damage around. You can boost. You can go ahead. I mean, these are some tiny little guys on his side. That Bobby Zaruski being...
Yes, Spray Cheese Kid.
He's a 1/2. So, I mean, that is a perfect size for moving 2 damage. So, once the challenge party starts and then we start moving around damage, that's nice. And so that Chromacon adds a little bit of insurance, but still, Bobby Zaruski.
Yeah.
Fast card.
Yeah, not so much. So Bobby Zimmerski, of course, he came out and fabled when a Goofy movie entered into Disney Lorcana. It lets you draw a card and then discard a card. We have Webby Vanderquack going into the Inkwell, and we have that Tiana, restaurant owner, coming down again.
Yeah, so we say I really enjoyed watching Diego's deck because we saw it twice where I just feel like his deck is called Do Not Enter. We have the restaurant owner, do not come over here. Emerald Chromicon, definitely don't. It's like if you come over here, you got to pay money. I'm going to get rid of your stuff. You're not invited, quite frankly. And so what we've seen is some pretty low interaction games. I mean, it's interesting to know that Diego has been more of the control style deck, seeing that Under the Sea sang in game 1. So it's just very interesting. He's basically going slow, but saying, I'm not afraid because I have all this insurance I have built.
Yeah. It is really interesting that with that Tiana, it is kind of a similar thing to that, like you're just saying with the Emerald Chromicon, that Tiana, by forcing your opponent to pay that 3 ink to be able to challenge, it's just another deterrent to your opponent challenging your characters.
Yeah, it's saying, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to pay 3? Do you want to throw everything you got at it? Because you have to decide. And by the way, if you do it in the wrong order, you might activate this Emerald Chromicon, because at that point, he gets to decide. And something that's kind of fascinating is Chromicon, you may return chosen characters. So that means he can say, hey, I want that Mowgli because I know you're up to weird stuff. And maybe there's a great Illuminary in your hand. I'm coming for it. So I think that the ability to bounce your own thing makes it if you have a nice tool in your arsenal like a Mowgli and Ursula, you can go ahead and say, hey, I don't know what you're up to over there, but I'm getting this back and I'm sending it right on back to you.
Yeah, any character that has a good on-play effect is something that I think players with the Emerald Chromicon out are always considering. You know, looking at the board state, you know, where are we in the state in the game, where the lore total is at, and is it more advantageous for me to bounce one of my own characters or one of yours? And Zan has paid 4 ink to put down 2 Junior Woodchuck guidebooks on his side of the board.
How did he know that's one of? How did he pick 3 of the 3 cards that I said were fascinating?
Yes, and it is a great card. I don't see that Zan has any other cards in hand, though. And I think that we're just going to see him draw 4 cards next turn.
Yes, and I think, so one of the things we talk about is splitting the cost. Boost allows you to do that. Junior Woodchuck Guidebook allows you to do that, because this turn he pays 4. He says, don't worry, I'm going to get these back next turn. And then he can go ahead, pay 2 ink, get 4 cards, and say, that's 4 pieces of the combo I can get. I just need 1 turn to win. But it is hard because notably that Monstro, you need the discount of the Lantern and Huey, or you need ink. And so he is kind of in an uphill battle now, because we're seeing Diego go wider with a very, very punishing card that allows him to get looking through his deck for even more answers.
Yeah, and since he had 4 characters out on the board, that 7 cost Tramp Street Smart Dog only costs 3. So now getting to draw some cards and then discard, which is a great way to find the answers that you need. And Diego's side of the board looking quite wide, like you were saying.
Yeah, it's very ample, because, I mean, one thing that I found fascinating is we talked about, like, how do you wipe a board? And for a while, Monstro was seen as a way to be a board wipe, especially if you have a non-evasive board. In theory, if you can go ahead and get a situation where you have a very big hand size, if you're having a second star to the right, you just have been drawing cards and cards and cards, then that is a time where you are able to take advantage of that Monstro challenging over and over again. Yeah. But one thing I will note is there's a card on the screen that has become very, very valuable, and that is Royal Guard. You might say, well, Royal Guard, why? That's just a little guy.
Royal Guard, Octopus Soldier.
Yes, and he has the ability that when you draw a card, he gets a little bit stronger every time with Challenger +1.
Yes.
What would that matter next turn?
Oh, a Monstro off the top for turn. That's, I mean, he needs that. He needs that to win.
He needs a lot of things. That's like kind of so interesting, because I'm like, well, okay. If he has Royal Guard, he can go ahead, get that up to 5 by drawing 4 cards next turn. Actually, it'd be
1, 2.
It's a total of, so you draw a card per turn, so now the Royal Guard is a 2/2. Yep. Then you're drawing 2, so now he is a 4/2. And if he draws 2 more, he's a 6/2. And so knowing that made it where Diego couldn't quest, because that if that Royal Guard is now a 6/2, then Tiana being nothing. You don't have to pay anything. So I really love that this Royal Guard is this little engine that could, where if you were drawing a resplendent amount of cards, then suddenly the Royal Guard is like, I will come for anyone at any time.
Yeah. I didn't see what Zan drew with that Junior Woodchuck guidebook. He did pay the 1 ink to banish it and draw those 2. he only has 3 ink left. He gets to discount a character with the Huey when he quests. We have a Mowgli showing off that there is one Tramp Street Smart Dog in Diego's hand.
And this is one of the things that it's very interesting because they both playing Amber, but it's a tale of 2 Amber decks where Zan is saying, I need access to as many resources. Diego's like, I don't need that much ink at all. I can play this card over here. It costs 7. I can play it for the low cost of 2.
Yes, one of the things that Amber Emerald does good is it operates on very low ink. You can get away with doing a lot with just 3 or 4 ink. There's a lot of low-cost characters, and with that Tramp Street Smart Dog, being able to discount it for the characters you have on the board, it makes it really nice.
It is, and I'm interested to see because, I mean, this is really a tale of what is at the top of your deck here. What are you able to do? We're going to see a couple things. We're going to see if Zan is going to try to draw more cards. We know that Diego only has a Street Smart Dog, but that Street Smart Dog can go ahead and draw 5 cards, look for it under the sea, and be pretty punishing. And there we go, inking one of the combo pieces.
Yeah, I'm so curious to know what the other cards in his hand are. Of course, I'm sure that he must be running 4 Monstros because you want to make sure that you see it.
It's really important.
So if we can draw more cards, then the chances of seeing another one. It's interesting watching Zan play. You just see him on every turn, just like calculating in his mind, doing the math, looking at what he has out, thinking through his deck, and I can't even imagine like all the numbers that's floating around in his mind.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely that GIF on the internet of the numbers floating around.
Yes.
That is me currently. But it's funny because Diego's the opposite. Diego's like, I have 1 card, which is one of the most fascinating things in Disney Lorcana where you're holding 1 card and you're watching your opponent make the most difficult decisions of their life.
Yep.
But in this case, we are going to use the boost, that new mechanic we talked about where you can go ahead, once per turn, go ahead and take a card. You don't know what card it is from the top of your deck, put it right underneath it, and you have boosted, and you're allowed to move damage. In this case, you just go ahead and boost for fun here.
Yeah, there is no damage currently on the board. Like you said, there hasn't been a lot of interaction, not a lot of challenging going on, and we haven't seen any in this game yet. And so that ability of boosting Cheshire Cat doesn't come into play because there's no damage to move.
But I did talk to a player once that said, hey, you got to boost. If you have 2 ink, you got to boost. I was like, why? And he said, well, think about it. Like, what if you get that card back? What if there's a Hades? Now, this is not Hades, but what if a Madam Elephant came down and suddenly that Cheshire Cat comes back and now you have 2 cards. If you're boosting and boosting, you get a Madam Elephant and suddenly that's card draw 2. So it's kind of one of those investment things. He has extra ink. He doesn't have anything to do with it. So he's saying like, well, I might as well boost. And maybe even worst case scenario, Diego will forget there's a card underneath it and send it back with Chromacon. So it's kind of one of those things where there's not a lot of downsides except you don't know what you put under there.
Right.
So you might have to retrieve that later with that Madam Elephant.
Yeah, it is interesting with the Chromacon. I don't know what you think, Katie. I'd love to know your thoughts on if Diego would send the Cheshire Cat back, because the Cheshire Cat can do a lot, and so Diego maybe doesn't want Zan to have access to that boost ability on Cheshire Cat. So would he choose to use Chromacon possibly on that if the situation arose, just to get off the board and say, I'll give you the extra card?
So I would like to point out, this has been one of my favorite matches because I'm like, I don't know exactly what Diego's up to. Because mind you, this is a matchup where if you look up, hey, what's the Diego's new deck versus Zan's also pretty new combo deck? What do you do? What's the matchup? And if you said, what's Diego's plan? I wouldn't say be at 0 on turn 6.
Right.
And so now there is a chance that he might go ahead, but he knows Zan is desperate. That's one of those things that players do all the time where they're like, you know what I want and I know what you want. Would you do it? How desperate are you? And in this case, he knows Zan wants cards. He knows that Diego doesn't want him to have access to easy removal. So in this case, he says, I'm not necessarily worried, and he's going to go ahead, play the Della's Moon Lullaby.
Yes.
Brand new song.
Brand new song, 2 cost Inkable, and it's a great card. You get to draw a card, and chosen opposing character gets -2 strength until the start of your next turn.
Yeah, and traditionally it is nice. It pairs well with an Under the Sea because you're able to take something that maybe like a Lexington that normally wouldn't go under the sea and say, well, now you do because it
now you do.
But in this case, it's just enough to say, well, I'm going to challenge and go ahead and retain my value here. So that and then draw a card, which is honestly such a nice thing. Sometimes when reveal season happens, we read, does it say draw a card? If so, stocks are up.
Absolutely. People love to draw cards. I do think what's interesting here on the choice of challenging into Huey is because he doesn't want to give Zan the ability to discount his characters, right? He wants to delay Monstro coming onto the board
Yes.
as long as possible.
And we saw what happened when he had access to 2 lanterns, 2 Hueys.
That was
Incredible.
wild.
Yes, and now he's saying, "Yeah, I didn't love that." He knows that it's a 1-turn win deck. That's the combo here.
Yes.
So he's saying if I can delay that, and he's doing that because at this point we only have 5 ink on Zan's side, and that Monstro is the crux of the combo. You cannot win without Monstro. You have to find him one way or another, and in this case, unless you have that engine, because he is the engine that drives the combo forward, you are now just playing a game of classic mid-range Lorcana. And it's important to note that this combo deck, you don't win with a combo the majority of the time. It's
Sure. Yeah.
It's nice.
Like you were saying earlier, it's one way to win, but not the only way to win.
You got to get to 20 lore, and
You do.
he's made it a little harder with this math equation. Diego
Yeah.
said, I've got a Tiana, I've got a Chromacon. You've got this Royal Guard, which, like we said, if he that Royal Guard gets a little bit stronger every time you draw a card.
Yep.
He's got the Cheshire Cat to move damage, but dealing damage is pretty hard when Tiana
Well,
runs out.
yeah, you got that Tiana exerted, and Zan only has 5 ink, so he paid 2, or sorry, he exerted Cheshire Cat to challenge into Tiana. Now we're going to be able to boost, move 1, and take that Tiana off the board.
Now, he paid the 3. Sorry, the bane of my existence sometimes
Yep.
his sleeves were
Yeah.
it could be black. 'cause
No,
I'm like,
he used,
turn?
yeah, so
yes.
he used 3 ink to be able to challenge,
Yes.
and then he paid 2 ink to boost, so that just getting that 1 extra damage, Tiana, she doesn't have a lot of strength, but that 1 damage was what did it. So now that kind of changes the math here a little bit. Diego did have 9 lore on the board. Now he just has 7, but Zan could go into some of these other characters if he wanted to.
Yeah, and so, I mean, really now I think it becomes a story of Zan, can he keep playing this control role? This is where Cheshire Cat becomes, it's a Bell Accomplished Mystic. Like we talked about, you said on playability earlier. This is on play, or rather, it's like on play or repeatable ability, and that's just not something we see a lot on Arcana. And that's why Boost has been fascinating.
Yeah.
And then, like we said, you have that impact. And here we go. We're gonna do a little bit of that control here. Yes, we're taking damage, but we know we can take advantage of that with that Cheshire Cat as long as that cat is on the board.
Yeah, Diego now, the Emerald Chromacon has been triggered because Mowgli he was banished. Diego thinking through, what does he want to bounce here? Is it one of his own characters back to his own hand? Is it something on Zan's side of the board? What's unfortunate is that you're going to leave some damage on the board. And Cheshire Cat's ability, when you boost, you can move damage from any character. So Zan could move damage from Bobby Zimmerowski. So there is going to be damage available on the board. Diego really thinking through here what he would want to bounce back. And it is going to be the Rafiki, that challenger going back to Zan's hand.
Yeah, and I don't blame him because Cheshire Cat, like we said, Zan is in, every time he boosts that cat, he is saying, I bet you would not bounce that back to my hand, would you? Because there could be a whale, there could be a great illuminary, maybe a Weeno away. So he's kind of he's ensuring it, making it less and less bounceable. And then Mowgli, we know, you don't want to do that because it's got that really strong on-play ability where you can go ahead and at the very least know what's exactly in Diego's hand. Maybe you don't get to get a non-character. It's only 1 guard, but you get information.
Yeah, and that Royal Guard, which was bounced back with the Emerald Chromacon earlier in the turn, is coming back out onto the board, and Zan is now at 6 ink, and the turn is going over to Diego.
And like we said, this is a situation we've talked about many times today. What is the time clock? With Zan, it's anywhere from it's 1 turn, and now that being said, the time clock is based on the ink, so we got to get to that Monstro turn. We need 2 more turns to get there.
2 more turns,
or we can get a lantern. But yeah, still 2 more turns at the very least, and then 1 more turn after that. So he's 3 turns away. So Diego has a thing where he's like, how far can I get while he's trying to get to that whale, and how much, what is my plan with this Cheshire Cat? Is there anything I can do to get rid of that darn cat? Because, like I said, with those 3 cards underneath it is presenting a lot of potential to Zan, but is also showing a lot of control options. With that 1 damage on there, he can go ahead and move it to the Bobby Zimmerowski. He just has options. So this is why this deck is powerful, because in the meantime, while you're waiting for Monster to come out, it is a nice mid-range deck, which means you have a lot of power in the middle of the game.
Yeah, and now I believe that lady is going to Quest for 3. Because she got the extra strength with playing the, maybe not because.
Oh, yes. So this lady, the
yeah,
Elegance
she did.
Manual.
1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6.
Or are you talking
7.
about?
Yeah, the one up in the top. You can't see
I can't see it. I was like,
know. You can't
like,
see
she
it.
can't quest. She's not dry.
Lady is hiding. She got scared by all the people here at the Disney Lorcana Challenge.
Yes.
Too much activity going
She's
on.
decisive and a little scared.
Yes,
Yes,
she's
you were
a little scared. So she was able to quest for 3 this turn. So Diego now up to 10. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like if Diego can keep these characters on the board, that it's looking like the scales are maybe tipping a little bit more in his direction right
And
now.
I think we've seen you can start slow, but as long as you get to the point where you have all the dog synergy, when we say the dog synergy, we have Lady who's able to get Tramp in, or rather, there's all sorts of discounts. We have the Tramp that can get discount for, she costs 1 less if there's a Lady. We have Lady where you have your Tramp in play, she gets +1 lore. We have the Lady up there with for 3 strength. That goes with the enterprising dog. So basically all of these work together where you're able to do things for very cheap and you're able to do it to get a lot of value out of it.
Yes.
So as we know, Zan does not have a board wipe. He has a Monstro, but we have to have that engine to drive that Monstro forward. Monstro has Rush.
Monstro does have Rush. He could take something out. He's got some strength. He's a big whale.
He is a big, yeah.
Typically, that's not what Zan would want to use the Monstro for. So I know that he wouldn't want to be in the position where he had to do that, but he might if it would keep him in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really hard decision. Because, I know, it's the second time I've used Whaley, but I didn't get you to gasp the first time, so I was like, I'm doing it again. I'm going around the block. But this is difficult decision time because essentially we're going to go ahead and get that Royal Guard a little bigger here. Every time we draw a card, that goes ahead and adds 1 strength on that challenger ability. But will it be enough? Because, I mean, we're counting on the board here. She, in theory, at white right now, that Lady on the top quest for 1, up to 2. Let's see.
Royal Guard is a +4 challenger right now? No, what is he?
He would be at this point, he drew for turn and he got the genie, so that's 3.
3, okay. So couldn't quite take out then. He'd have to put multiple characters into one of those Tramps. Those Tramps, though, they're big and they quest for 2.
They do. So he went ahead, indicated that he will go ahead and start the party here.
Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the other 3 damage coming from the Cheshire Cat, which he challenged into.
Yes, and he says,
"Oh, we are sending the Cheshire Cat." This is exactly what we were talking about, Katie. Diego said, "All right, I do not want that cat out here anymore, so you can have all those cards."
And that is one of my favorite things in Disney Lorcana and any TCG is making somebody say, you have a choice. What do you fear most? Do you fear the control aspect of Cheshire Cat, or do you fear me having cards?
He took the Tramp back to hand in that time. So Bobby Zimmerowski was banished, triggering that Emerald Chromicon, and Diego choosing to bring back that Tramp back into his hand, the Enterprising Dog.
Now, I like that because honestly, that Tramp, if you go ahead and play him, he only costs 4 ink, and one of the things he can do is search for the Shift Lady, which works as kind of like card draw in the sense that if you shift into the Miss Park Avenue Lady, you were able to go ahead and get 2 cards of 2 cost or less. So there's lots of options. In this case, we're just going to keep the dog plan going and go wide. We don't need that plan I just talked about.
Yes, and we are questing for 6 here. We're going to go up to 18, excuse me, because we have Lady getting that extra strength and able to quest for 3 again. And then we have also that little Lilo coming down. Diego at 18 lore. Zan not at the place where he can play Monster yet. What are your thoughts right now, Katie?
I'm thinking, oof. Now, Zan is
Woof.
going to say, yeah, woof, 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 and there we go.
And that was it. I think Zan was thinking that too. And what a match. We have 2 amazing, incredible players, 2 amazing deck builders with 2 incredible decks. And wow, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things I love is both those players have made their deck their own. We talk about archetype, we talk about decks, we say Blurple, and you say, oh, I'm expecting these 60 cards. But these players are